Hello guys, hi, this is Ganesh Nayak. I hope everybody's doing good. And I'm back with one of my students' success interview. He's been able to clear FRM Level 1 in May 2022 exam. Okay, and he's only taken my question back. He's not taken any videos, any live session. He was preparing on his own. Okay, and we are going to be talking about his journey, his challenges, what was the way of preparation, what was the time dedication that he was putting in, and how he was able to clear the exam. So with this, we're going to be starting out with the conversation. So we have Manas with us. Manas, thank you very much for taking out time early morning on a weekday. So thank you very much and welcome to the show. And
Thank
I
you,
hope
sir.
this, yes, I hope this conversation is going to be very interesting that and people will like this conversation. The reason being you have prepared on your own. Okay, so there are a lot of questions that I would ask you with respect to your preparation methodology, the way you have followed and all that. So, but before we start the
Right.
conversation, uh, for the benefit of the audience, can you give us an idea? When did you start your FRM preparation? And what was your profile then in terms of work experience? What were you doing? And also an education background.
All right. So I started my preparation for the May 2022 exam sometime in mid-December.
Okay.
And I'd been working in the financial services sector for the past 6.5 years now. And like talking about my educational background, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in commerce. And
Mhm.
further to that, I had a postgrad, it is an MBA with specialization in finance. And
Okay.
after that, I've been working ever since. Yes.
Okay. So basically, the last time you prepared something that was 6 years back, and now this is the FRM
So,
exam, right? No?
so I have also appeared and cleared the CFA Level 1 exam. So in
Okay.
between,
When was that? Which month or which year was that?
it was in 2017.
Okay, so but still there's still 3.5 hours, 3.5 years ka gap that we had for the FRM exam, right?
Yes.
And okay, so now when you decided to go for the FRM, you must have seen the books, the first book. And which book you were reading? Shwejar or Ga?
So I was reading Schwezer because I realized that I was short on time. I had like maybe 5 months to prepare.
Hmm.
So I would have preferred to read GARP as well, but it seemed like I wouldn't be able to cover it.
Okay.
So I was reading Schwezer. And I mean, initially, I was also solving problems from Bionic Turtle,
Hmm.
which is that preparatory material. But I mean, it is good material for sure. But the questions were, I found them very challenging, and also like they were the difficulty level was a little bit different to what I think candidates would normally see. At least that is my perception that you would normally see in an FRM exam. Like the questions are a
Okay.
bit different, they are more theoretical maybe. So I did refer to that material, but then I switched after a while to other material as well. Like I, for example, the intelligence question bank, and
Okay.
I found that more helpful, I think, because the difficulty level or the type of question was closer to what was there in a typical FRM exam. So
Okay.
yeah, so but reading material majorly Shweta, yes.
Shwejar. And how much time you were dedicating from the mid of December to read Shwejar?
I think I would do like on weekdays because I have work, I would maybe do like an hour or 1.5 hour a day. On
Okay.
weekends, it would increase to 3 to 4 hours a day. And maybe after 3 or 4 months, when I was getting closer to the exam date, at that point of time, I would it would increase to maybe 5 to 6 hours on the weekend.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that was my hours of preparation that I put in. Yes.
Okay. And you started in what order when you were reading this Shwejar?
So I think I watched one of your videos on YouTube where you mentioned that quant is a good subject to start with, and I think even I mean after having gone through all the
Hmm.
subjects and given the exam, I think that is a good subject to start with because it is like a base, and certain concepts in like risk management, valuation, risk management, they are I mean, they'd be a little difficult to grasp if you don't have the base of quant, like you don't know
Yes.
concepts like maybe multivariate random variables, etc. So I started with quant, and then book two and book three I did in conjunction wherever like there were
Okay.
commonalities, and after that I did book one.
So basically, you did cons and then FMP and the valuation risk model together. Then you went to book one, right?
Yes,
Okay. And
yes.
uh, so you decided to read the entire Swagger and then start the question bank. Okay, if I'm not
No,
wrong.
no, I was doing it in conjunction. Like I was maybe doing one or two chapters, and then
Okay.
the subject, I mean the chapter level questions. I was doing
Okay.
it like that because I mean, if you just cover the conceptual material and then you go to the questions, it could be very overwhelming
Okay.
because
Okay.
there's a
And
huge. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
so when did you go? When did you got associated with us? Which month, if you remember?
Uh, Maybe March. I'm not sure, but I think
Okay.
March.
March. So let us around Feb. So from December mid till Feb, you were just reading and reading. So till that point in time, were you close to completion of the curriculum?
I think my first reading got over, I think, sometime in mid-March, actually.
Okay. Okay. And
Yeah.
from before that itself, you had started solving some part of the question bank, the chapter-wise questions.
Yeah, I had. And
Okay. And when did
during my
you?
second reading, I mean, second reading, I think I mean, especially I think book two and book four, I was focused on solving the question bank in conjunction. But yes, some of the already started during the first reading itself. So
Okay. So some
it
chap.
was not a very structured. It was a bit mismatched kind of approach.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Now, for the benefit of the audience, what primarily Manas has done is some part of the question bank he started when he got the question bank, he realized, okay, I can start some part of it, which he might have found easy or something which is interesting. He started doing it, and then primarily once he completed the first reading with the revision, that and primary revision is very important, and that can be a very big game changer for your exam. So with the revision, you started this entire question bank solving. Again, the time dedication on a weekday was 1.5 hour, or did it also increase in the month of March?
I think March onwards, I whenever I could, I would try putting in an hour in the morning and an hour after work. But that wasn't
Okay,
possible every day. So whenever I could, it would be like 2 hours, but not every day.
okay. And when did you complete the chapter-wise question solving? Which month?
I think very close to the exam date. I think I'd say maybe April, around April. Yeah.
April end, you're referring to?
Yeah,
And
probably April end. Yeah.
when was your exam date?
Exam date was the last day in the window. That was 20th May.
And so basically now within that 19 days, what was your strategy? Because you are already completed one reading, one revision, you've solved everything. 19 days, what were you doing?
19 days I think I was looking at the chapters which I found like very tricky or challenging, or certain chapters where you feel you can
Mhm.
go through it endlessly and still find it difficult to solve certain questions because they involve a lot of steps, maybe like interest rate derivatives or something like that, where the
Okay,
valuation questions involve a number of steps, and if you I mean, you don't use the time value of money concept properly, or you don't use discounting or compounding properly, then I mean the entire question goes for a toss. So
okay,
I think certain chapters from book two and book three I was focusing on at that point of time, because not book two, sorry, book three and book four, because quant and book one I felt like it would be fine if I did it like very close to exam date. It's fine. But book three and book four, I felt that there are certain chapters there which I mean I need more time. So
okay,
during those 19 days, I mean cherry picked certain of the chapters and focused on them.
okay,
So and then I mean when the exam day prep, like a week before, I covered book one and book two first because I hadn't touched them during that
okay,
time, and then whatever was remaining from book three and book four I covered.
okay.
So
And
that's how I.
did you got a leave from your office during that period of time?
Yeah, I did get a week's leave from office. Yes.
Okay. And when did you start solving mock paper? If you have any idea on that part.
Actually, I could not complete an entire mock paper, but I did get chance to look at GARP questions. I mean
Sample paper.
yeah, the sample paper which they release. So, and that also not entirely. Like I think what I did was, as I completed a subject, I would look at the sample paper for questions in that for pertaining to that subject and solve them.
Okay.
So maybe I think three of the subjects I was able to solve for that in that GARP sample question paper. Having said that, I did solve certain sectional questions from the question bank of intelligence. For I think book one and book two. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And primarily, what was the what was your accuracy level throughout the entire question bank that you were picking up? I mean, any rough idea in terms
So
of
the
out of 100
accurate
question, how many right?
right. So accuracy level was good in subjects like I mean the book one where I think depending on the chapter I would get anything from 65 to maybe higher 70,
Okay,
80. But when it came to book three and book four, I mean it could go to 50 or even lower.
okay,
So I mean so then I think anyway like my preparation was such that I didn't really give those timed exams because
mm,
I felt that that could be a bit demotivating for me. So I instead focused on giving question one by one. Then if I couldn't get them, I'd look at the solution. And so I didn't really give a lot of timed exams to be honest,
okay,
because I
got it.
kind of felt that within those 4 hours I still managed during the exam. Uh, so I wasn't too worried about time per se. I was more worried about getting the accuracy right. So I focused that way.
Okay, got it. And primarily, when you went for the exam, on the day of the exam, you started it. What happened in that first hour?
Uh, I think it was a tip. Any like if you're giving exam, it was kind of typical. I kind of had I was kind of expecting the paper to be a bit theoretical and with a little bit of numericals in between. Maybe
Mhm.
62, 65 questions were theoretical, and then the rest of them were numerical.
Okay,
So, and I mean, it was challenging for sure. I would not say that it was a easy exam which I gave, because even though I mean, you said theoretical, it wasn't like an easy theory paper. It was testing concepts at a very deep level.
okay,
So, but I mean, I was kind of expecting that, so that I wasn't really taken aback or something. So the during the first hour, I tried to cover. I think as you had advised also during that time, like 25 questions, uh, and I was kind of able to meet that.
okay. And every year, you were able to make that consistency of 25, 25, 25?
Yes, and I
Okay,
think I had like some 18 minutes left during the last
okay,
half an hour, so I could go back to the question that I had flagged and. I mean, then have a look at them again, whether I want to change the answer or I want to maybe take another approach at that question or solve it differently. Or so I had some
got it,
18 minutes left. Yeah.
got it. And primarily, uh, when you said the paper was difficult, okay, or slightly challenging, what do you feel? Was it questions were very big, or were the options were very tricky?
The options are very tricky. The question length and size was not intimidating. It was as what you would expect. Like if you've gone through mock material or any good question bank, then the size of the question was not daunting. It was I mean, the multiple choice question was such that you could eliminate two, but then there were two which always appeared very close, and any one of them could be the answer. So that took
Okay.
a lot of time. Like which one should you pick? Because both seemed correct, and then you had to take a call. So
Hmm.
that is what I found difficult.
And
Yes.
with respect to the calculation-based question, were they easy or were they also slightly tricky?
Calculation question, I would say simple to medium complexity. I don't think there was anything which was very difficult.
Okay, and that were around 30 questions, right? Or was it lesser than that?
Roughly 30.
Roughly 30. Okay. And with respect to the uh, overall paper, okay, so you have read Swedger. Now you were able to connect to every question which was there in that 100 question, or were there any question which you felt okay, this is outside Swedger?
Hmm. No, I don't think I'd say that any question was outside Schwezer or whatever the syllabus was. But I just say that they were tricky, that they were not straightforward questions. I mean, it took a while to digest them and then kind of
Hmm.
work them through your mind or on paper if it was a concept. So
Okay.
if someone is preparing through Schwezer, I mean I mean it's good to get your concepts clear through that book, but at the same time I mean I feel that the questions in that book are a little on the easy side, because I think the
Swedger questions,
focus
yes.
of that book is to, yeah, I think the focus there is to kind of like clear the concept rather than give a very exhaustive problem sums or list of problem sums. So maybe
Hmm.
that book served that purpose. But
Right.
for question, I think you have to do something additional. So doing
Okay.
something additional helped me, I would say.
Okay. And now when you came out of the exam, was there any number in your mind that okay, I will get 50 right, I'll get 70 right answers?
Not really. I mean, it was very yeah. I had no idea. So to be very honest, I had no. I mean, I thought okay, it was sort of okay the paper. I was able to attempt all questions within time. I was able to look. I mean, go back to questions where I felt I needed to look again, and so but I wasn't able to gauge the score. I mean, because as I said, a lot of the questions I kind of felt were. There were two options, and I wasn't sure what I was picking was absolutely correct or not.
Okay. Okay.
So then it becomes difficult to determine, what your score could be, right?
Hmm.
So that's why I didn't have a score. I was just very grateful that it's over. I did the best I could, and now let's see whatever happens.
Okay. And what were the quartiles that you have got in the exam when the result came in?
So the quartile was uh, first quartile in books 1, 2, and 3, and third quartile in book 4.
Okay. Okay. The way you were facing challenge in the exam, like in while preparation, also book three and book four. So over here also the book four becomes slightly came down in terms of the quartile. Now
Yeah.
I have two major questions for you. The first is if somebody is preparing for FRM level one, what would be the top three tips from your end?
Top three tips. Oh, okay. Uh, I mean, like before you even begin, have a look at this. I mean, I think probably any aspirant would do that. They would look at the books. They would look at the topics and try to gauge, what sort of concepts the sort of the committee assumes you already should know before you venture into the preparation part of it.
Right.
So, I mean, I would say that, before you jump into the water, have a look, have a proper look that whether this is something you're truly interested in, and whether this is something you would, I mean, because sometimes I've seen like other colleagues and candidates sort of venture in without really knowing I mean, what kind of difficulty the kind of difficulty the topics have, as well as whether even they want to pursue something like this at all. I think they just go head first in and they are not very clear. So I would
Okay.
say get that clarity, because then that kind of helps you during your preparation, because it gives you a focus which you
Okay.
otherwise would not have, because then you would think, oh, halfway through maybe this is not working and maybe I should just quit or whatever. So that is important. Second thing I would say, get good preparatory material, because I think that is half the battle won. if you have good, I mean, you could dig deep into a lot of concepts in the FRM exam. It has, I mean, beyond whether I mean, if you read the actual GARP material, there's a lot to read. But I mean, which is good. But at the end of the day, it's also an exam you're facing, and you should be able to, you know, tackle the questions which come in the exam. So you need to have a good list of questions and good preparatory material. So I mean, whatever you're comfortable with. Maybe people, you know, who are, I mean, I'm not anyone to comment on that, but this is just my assumption that people who have maybe background in, say, maths or stats or engineering or, you know, something like that, they would maybe find Bionic Turtle more comfortable, because there
Hmm.
that material, like, it goes into partial derivatives and integration and stuff, which is really not covered for people who have a background in commerce and etc.
Right.
So, I mean, then people with that background could find that a bit intimidating. So, I mean, so I feel that material is more for people who have that kind of background. This is my opinion. Uh, and I found the intelligence question bank helpful because it was chapter wise and section wise and then mocks, and it was organized. So that helped me. So,
Okay.
so that was, I mean, that is the second tip I would give. Third tip, I mean, I can probably give maybe an approach which I used. I don't have a tip, I
Yes.
have an approach. Like before I mean, FRM level one, as we all know, is very formula heavy. Like there are a lot of formulas that to be learned, and you have to remember them during the exam day, and it could be a bit overwhelming because it's a huge list.
Hmm.
So what I would do is I had this green board which I had bought, you know, just before the week of the exam, and then I'd keep that green board behind my back when I was studying. And once I was done with the chapter, I would take a post-it note, write down the formula which I thought was, you know, challenging, and you know that even if I there are certain formulae which, even if you understand conceptually, you know, what is happening in that formula and why that formula is that way, you still might
Hmm.
not remember during the exam. There are certain formula, at least I felt there was certain formula like that. So I would write it down on a post-it, and then I pin it to the green board, and then I kept doing it that way as I, you know, kept finishing chapters and subjects. And then every morning I'd you know, before beginning my preparation, I would have a look at the post-its and the formula again. That, you know, that so that at least something, something gets stored in my memory,
That's
and I'm
right.
able to recollect during the exam. So if, yeah, if you keep looking at them again and again, at least something is, you know, bound to go in. And
Got it.
I think that sort of helped me. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. And primarily, one. So I was looking out for this as a part of the second question in terms of what was your approach when you were preparing on your own. But that's fine. Even you answered it over here. Now, finally, when you have got the result you have cleared, what has been the feedback of people around you, and especially people with whom you're working or your friend in the industry?
So I think all of them are very like happy, and I got a lot of uh, congratulations, and I mean, obviously it was a good feeling to get a lot of appreciation and uh, sort of, I guess, recognition also, because a lot of hard work. I mean, anyone, any candidate, whether they clear or not, it's a lot of hard work put in, because
Right.
it's 60 readings, so it's no joke. And yeah, I think people were happy, and so was I. Yes.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So, I mean, Manas, thank you very much for taking out time. This conversation is going to be very helpful for people who are preparing on their own, and they might need some guidance, and they can come to your video and they can get some idea from that perspective. And that's definitely you started in December also, and were able to clear in May, right? Because a lot of people, they when they reach December, when they reach January, they have a thought process that I'm very late for the exam. So from that perspective, your interview can motivate them to go for the exam also now
Right.
by looking at your journey. And also the conversation that we had, it is going to be interesting to understand the way or you prepared, the order that you were following. Like you started with book two, you said book three and book four simultaneously, and then book one. The approach, a lot of people can utilize that also. So thank you very much, Manas. Thank you for taking out time and talking to us and giving a glimpse of the journey that you have been. and the way you have been able to succeed in the exam. Thank you, Manas.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for having me.